Oh, it's my purpose.
Yeah, leave for life, leave for life, leave for life, leave for life, 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 What you gonna do when you're sitting on the tide? What you gonna do when you're running out of time? We're living this life, we're living in the ride. We're living on the side, come along for the ride. Stop, drop, everything that you knew. Everything you wish could become it true. Who knew? We so cool, hanging out with the kids from the old school. Yo, what you gonna do? Where you gonna run? What you gonna do when there's no sun? No fun, no seasons, no atmosphere for breathing. How much more to see, son? Government committing high treason. Cutting treason, fucking with the bees in. Give me one more reason. Time will tell. Give me one more reason. Mystery is nothing if you don't let it go. I know it's easy, run away from it all.
It's easy to run away from it all, but you're living in the light.
Time will tell. Give me one more reason. Mystery is nothing if you don't let it go. I know it's easy, run away from it all. You're living in the light. You're living in the light now. Living in the light.
So that's a little preview from a song I recorded with Melanie and Nate. So, you know, it is easy to run away from all of this. You know, just collapse into your internal, or just hide away in your room. You know, jump onto the metaverse if you like. You know. However, mystery is only real when you let it call, right? And that's what the song is about, you know. But you're living in the light, whether you're in a dark room or not. So you will notice the light on you if you open your eyes, and you will see it, right? So that's just a preview of the song called "The Change," and it's on my SoundCloud. I'll put that in the description down below. The name of this video is called "Hedonistic Whore versus Prostitute versus Knowing Jah." Well, to be honest, if you're living in the Babylon, or even if you're somebody that lives outside of the Babylon, and you're like waiting for it to fall, but you're still paying your power bill and you're still buying gas to be a part of it and still buying food from the centralized food system, that means you are still, according to this video and what I'm trying to explain here, a prostitute to the system. So that means there is nobody that is, if this was a fully Gnostic idea, then there's nobody that has flesh, that lives in the flesh, that in this world, like this would be the Cathar's idea. The farthest reaches of this would be that this is a world that needs to be escaped, this physical world, and the metaphysical world is where heaven is, right? And this is hell. Like that would be the Cathars would be an example of those kind of ideologies. So if that's the case, then anytime that I've used cognitive dissonance to allow myself to be a part of a pathological system, that was me being a prostitute. Or was it me being a hedonistic whore? Well, if you're a prostitute, you know, like I said, the person that prostitutes themselves the least is the most virtuous, you know? So a hedonistic whore and a prostitute, what's the difference of that? Well, a hedonistic whore and a prostitute, a hedonistic whore sells their soul to have the world, right? So for example, I dated a girl for a while, which is actually a PhD in psychology, and every time that we would start to talk about anything esoteric, or like shadow or Jungian psychology, she would get all confused, and then her ego would attack me and say, "Well, I know better because I'm a PhD in psychology." So I could never. That would come up. I think it came up like 4 or 5 times, right? It's like that's my issue. I do have with this 10 years of competency that they come out of the university with. Well, human being psyches are far from universal. So I think you're more teaching people how to pathologize people or to put them in a box than you are fully understanding psychology or hermeticism, which is a higher idea of what consciousness is, even though we don't know what it is, you know? So, yeah, like when I used cognitive, if I use cognitive dissonance to make a bunch of money knowing that I'm hurting somebody else doing that, that can be both sides. That can be a prostitute, which is somebody that's just has been abused by the world that they're in. And everyone's been abused by the world they're in. There's nobody that isn't. But that is needs to prostitute themselves to survive, or else they die, you know? And there is situations that this comes up. Like but I'll go back to the girl that I dated. She was absolutely gorgeous. Like, you know, had, you know, the thing that I like of my like thing is like, you know, big hips and a nice big booty, which is normal for a man because you know, it's healthier birthing hips. There's evolutionary reasons for that. But she was so attractive and she had this power, and that's the siren's magic, right? And that's sexual wicked or witchery, let's call it, right? And so like that would be called yin possession if we're talking about like Islamic religion, and that's a big reason why, because you could be possessed by yin if you're a woman, because you're possessed by a man that makes you feel so special, or you can be a man possessed by yin, being like possessed by the siren's call, right? So people are like, oh, why are they putting masks on the women in over there? Well, it's not fully just dogma. We do know that as a person changes their persona to get a different response from the world, say like more money, more power, which, you know, like sex gives women power, money gives men power, you know, they both are that way, but I'm just saying mostly women can use sex more than men can for power, and mostly, you know, in our dark father world we live in, there's more men using money to get power and sex, right? So, you know, so that's hedonistic whores, right? Are those that are, they want to gain the world and get all the flesh and all the sexual things and money and all of that, and they don't care about who steps on their whore. They're whores, right? And prostitutes are all of us. We are all prostitutes. You know, and my ex that I dated for about a year, and I learned a lot from her. I forgive her for all of the things that has happened, and I hope that she forgives me for any things that I've done. But, you know, she saw clients while she was with me, and I found out this after we were apart. And, you know, it's hard for me to judge that because the world kind of did that to her. And I'm not calling her a victim, but a gorgeous woman, she learned early her powers at about 15. You know, I was sitting down at dinner with her mom and her dad, and they're the most neoliberal, weak individuals I ever met. And her mother is so egotistical, it's ridiculous. She brought up her IQ and how smart she was, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times during that dinner. And then she brought up how, like, she saw full-grown men staring at her daughter at age 14, you know. And so she literally, like, is proud in the sense of her hot daughter, right? And because of that, look what she's done to her hot daughter. And I'm not blaming just her, because her hot daughter is a part of that also. Okay? But she's smart. She's a smart girl. She's not just a hot daughter. She's just a bit too egotistical and caught up in in left brain intellect over centered balance between right and left brain intellect, you know? And to me, somebody that thinks they're intellectual but have no understanding of esoteric or the right brain or understanding of intuition and visions and stuff like that, they're actually causing more problems to the world than the people that are at least trying to find center. So, you know, Mary Magdalene, they're like, oh, she's a hedonistic whore, is like the orthodox version of the story. But if you look at the Gnostic version of the story, she may have she was a prostitute, just like all of us. She may have prostituted herself out for sex a few times to survive, right? And that's the Gnostic version. And Mary Magdalene is actually the most wise of all the apostles. And I think it was Peter who said, "Do you guys, to the other apostles, do you actually believe that a woman understands more knowledge than us? Like, would Jesus love like give more to a woman than men? You know, so that is the example of the Dark Father, right? Or not the Dark Father. Let's just say, you know, yeah, it is the Dark Father. It's just saying, you know, like because of her sex or what she looks like, she has lower competence. It's silly, you know. So that's why I believe that we should realize is that we have had about 3 generations of pathological neo-Marxist propaganda pumped into our society. And so I've been a whore for sex too. I've used the fact that I do understand psychology very well, and like how and I also play music and I can sing, so I have used that to have women, right? And at times it was pathological. It is. We should show off our competencies to attract the other sex. That's our peacock feathers. However, because if you never went out into the world, and if you just never had a bath, good luck bringing children into this world. So like this is a thought about vanity too, right? Where like you have to understand it's like vain. As soon as like the idea is as soon as we start like coloring the eye, like makeup and like wearing high heels to make sure the butt looks bigger and all of these kind of things, if we putting more, I'm not saying not do that, that's art also, right? However, what is your intent behind it? So if it's your intent to attract, if you're putting your hips out and up and your breasts are out and you're looking at and you're doing the sexual thing, you're going to attract yin possession, right? But if you're dressing comfortable, but also like sexy, that's fine too, you know. I just think as soon as you're putting on high heels to work a job where you're walking around, then you're putting vanity over over what you should be doing, and that means you're going to be possessed by yin rather than true love. So, you know, people are like, "What's with Rasta?" and they're like dreadlocks, and they're and just like their vegetarian lifestyle, and their like anti-alcohol lifestyle. Well, there's a thing called the Nazarite vow, and what it is that the vow it's deeper than this, but I'll break it down in a simple way. Is that it breaks down vanity and also the necessity for others, so you become more powerful in yourself, and that's what knowing Jah is, right? So there is an idea of perfect person, and that would be Jah, Christ, like all of these perfect people that in every situation would know when to use the dark and when to use the light perfectly, right? And that is what knowing Jah is. And if you fully knew Jah and you were that perfect person, then you wouldn't be a prostitute at all, right? Because then you would be living fully, absolutely in your truth. You wouldn't be worried about bathing and all that other stuff. You wouldn't be worried about any vanity at all. You wouldn't be worried about bringing a child into this world to further your bloodlines or any of that stuff. And that would be like an example of the perfect person that has no, not even 0.0000001% prostitute in them, right? And so, okay, back to the Nazarite vow. Well, long hair, they say, I will not bring a razor to my hairs. Okay, so that's a message of vanity, and also self individuation over external morality, right? The other thing is go nowhere near a dead corpse, right? So some may think of that as like a dead body, like that's been killed, but I see that with Rasta is that they do have a lot of them have a vegetarian lifestyle, and they are on near the equator, so their genetics have had a lot longer to evolve towards phytonutrients than, let's say, people of Nordic blood like myself that have Nordic European and native in us. Then we're going to have more enzymes in our body for meat. However, their situation is that they are following Nazarite vow. They're staying away from corpses, which is vegetarian. They grow their dreadlocks long. They don't put a razor to their beards or their dreads, and that's following that. They stay away from grapes, like anything made with grapes, and it also expands into grains. So what they're actually talking about mostly there, like they do talk about vinegars and all these other stuff, and there probably is something more to the dogma that I don't understand. But what I get mostly from that is that they're talking about fermented grain and grape products, which is alcohol, which it makes us, you know, loosens up our connection, let's say, to the Lord. And the last thing that you get when you do these things is that the long hair brings and long beard brings magic. You get magic from it, right? So people are like, oh, magic, I don't know about that thing. Well, imagine you actually get to the part where you're close to Jah consciousness, right? Well, if you get close to that Jah consciousness, you will see alchemy happening in yourself and in the people that you are talking to. And to me, that is magic. So, you know, I've partially taken the vow because I'm not fully ideological, but I am, as you can see in my videos, I'm not trying to have a persona to this. I'm trying to let it come out as it is. If I swear, I'm not editing it out. I'm trying to show you who I am exactly. And that would be an attempt at clearing up any vanity in my life or any prostitution, right? So don't be a hedonistic whore. Unfortunately, most people in this world are hedonistic whores over prostitutes. So, you know, we should show unconditional love to everyone, regardless if they're a prostitute, hedonistic whore, or of course Jah conscious. However, the hedonistic whores that will not open their eyes and continue living in their bubble of cognitive dissonance need to be called out so that we can clean up our society. We can still love them, but judgments need to be made upon them. And the prostitutes that are all of us that need to do it, remember, it's prostitution's on a spectrum, so let's try to be at the lowest possible. And that means live who you are. Don't bow to anybody, right? You know, you only, and that doesn't mean don't be the student and allow somebody to teach you. That's not what I'm saying. Just do not bow to anybody that's trying to rule with dominance or ridiculousness. Stick to truth, right? And the more that you can be truthful is the more that you become Jah conscious. So everything is blessed. Jah Rastafari. Much love.